Welcome back to another episode.
You actually get another episode.
I know,
not just doing
right?
one.
Look at that, 2 weeks in a row.
Don't
get fucking used to it. But this week's episode's a little bit different than what we've kind of done in the past. Just, we had a little discussion at the end of our last week podcast, just because we kind of got on the thing of aliens. And so this week we're going to do the Lacerta files.
Which I actually had never heard of until you had brought it up.
Yeah, well, I'm just really into weird-ass alien shit.
See, and that's the one area that I don't really reach for.
Yeah.
Because it scares the shit out of me.
It's scary. I mean, it is scary. And I think, just like, because we did have this conversation recently when I got here too, I also, like, some people believe in aliens, some people don't. Like, it's fine. But, like, I just think it's kind of stupid for us to assume that we're, like, the only intelligent living life. Oh, yeah. Like, the universe is ever expansive. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just ignorant for us to think that. And, like, am I saying that there's, like, little green men? No. They could literally look like you and I. Like,
yeah, for sure.
You know, it's not, who's to say that they don't? Like, we don't know. I've never met an alien. Well, I've met some strange people, but... So, we're actually going to break this episode into 2 parts because the file is in 2 parts. I think it's 2 separate interviews. So today, you'll be listening to part 1, and next week, you'll be listening to part 2.
Yeah.
So, this week, to kind of give you some clarity, because we do sound a lot alike. We've noticed this more and more and more. I will be the interviewer this week, and Haley will be Lacerta this week. And next week, we will switch roles.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously put a reminder, because like there is some variance. Like, wow, Lacerta sounds weird this week. So I guess we just jump right in. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the disclaimer, I believe, by the editor and translator. So I'll just start off. Some weeks ago, I was asked from an online friend if I can translate a certain document concerning the truth about UFOs, aliens, and our real history. He said that he had received this fascinating file from a friend. Give me only 100 DM for every absolute truth of UFOs I've ever read in the last years, I would be a rich man. I knew my online contact was a strong believer in UFOs, but also an intelligent young man who knows many things about physics and sightings. So I was very surprised when I read the weird document called the Lacerta File 1 the first time, and I asked him if he really believed in this science fiction story. He was absolutely sure, and he said that Ole K is a personal friend of his and that he would never lie. Concerning evidence, he told me that he had read the whole transcript and that he saw the drawings and the audio tapes Ole K had mentioned in his introduction. I suppose every other normal UFO researcher had deleted this file immediately, but I'm crazy enough to translate it. I have warned my friend that my English is rather bad, but he was sure that I can do it, so I have tried to translate it somehow understandable. This means that I'm neither responsible for the content of this file, nor that I believe that it is true. It means only that I've done translation job for a friend. I have tried to make it easier to read by the use of some brackets, and I'm not sure if I've always used correct words, but I hope it is understandable. My personal opinion, after translating this weird text for nearly 1 week, is that this text is a really good science fiction story, but never the truth or reality. The answer and questions are always more or less logical, but I think the whole message is too unbelievable to be true. And in my opinion, the being tries too often to avoid answering too difficult of questions because the author of the whole text was not able to know an answer. But my job was a translation job, not a commenting the content of the file. I was asked if I can publish this file in the next issue of the magazine, but I think it's too long and also too weird to be a part of our magazine. But as I asked to send it to as many people as possible, I decided to send it in a normal RTF file. If this stuff is too weird for you, please delete it. The things mentioned in the file are definitely not my opinion or my belief. And then it apologizes for grammar. Make your own opinion and let me know what you think. Chris Pfeiffer, editor and translator. And we're just going to jump right into the interview. So the interviewer, this is his statement regarding this interview. He says, I certify the following text is the absolute truth and no work of fiction. These are parts of a transcript of an interview I've made with a non-human and reptilian being in December 1999. This female was already in contact with a friend of mine whose name is given only with the abbreviation EF in the text for some months. Let me declare that I was all my life a skeptic about UFOs, aliens, and other weird things, and I thought that EF just told me dreams or fictitious stories when he talked to me about his first contacts with the non-human being Lacerta. I am still a skeptic when I met this being on December 16th of 1999 in that small warm room in the remote house of my friend near to a town in the south of Sweden. Despite the fact that I saw now with my own eyes that she was not human. She has told me and shown me so many unbelievable things during that meeting that I can't deny the reality and the truth of her words any longer. This is not another of the wrong UFO papers which claim to tell the truth but tell in fact just fiction. I am convinced that this transcript contains the only truth and therefore you should read it. I had talked with her for over 3 hours, so the following transcript shows you shortened parts of the interview, because she asked me after the interview not to publish everything she had told me already now. The order of the questions in the transcript is not always the same order in which I had asked them, so it may seem a little bit confusing to you. It was not easy to delete all the important parts she had asked me to delete from the transcript order. I am in the possessive of an entire transcript of the interview, 49 pages, with some of my drawings of her body and her equipment, and also some of the tapes on which I have the full interview, but I will not reveal this before I have permission from her. I will send the shortened form of the still fascinating document to 4 of my reliable friends to Finland, Norway, Germany, and France, and I hope they will translate it into their own languages and into other languages, as I hope as many people as possible will be able to read and to understand the transcript if you receive it, please send it to all of your friends via email or make printouts and copy them. I certify furthermore that various paranormal abilities of her species like telepathy and telekinesis, including the moving and dancing of my pencil on the table without touching and the flying of an apple around 40 centimeters over her hands, were shown to me during this 3 hours and 6 minutes of the meeting, and I am absolutely sure that these abilities were no tricks. The following is certainly difficult to understand and to believe for someone who hasn't experienced it, but I was really in contact with her mind, and now I'm completely sure that everything she said during the interview is the absolute truth about our world. Unfortunately, if I read the entire transcript and much more, this very shortened form by myself, I have a strong impression that everything I've written sounds too unbelievable to be true. That everything sounds more like a bad science fiction story from TV or cinema, and I have doubts that anyone will believe my experience. But they are true, if you believe it or not. I can't expect from you that you will believe my simple words without evidence, but I can give you that evidence. Please read the transcript and think about it. You will maybe see the truth in these words. There will be a new meeting between me and her, again at the same house in Sweden, on April 23rd, 2000, and she promised to give me maybe some evidence of her existence. In the meantime, I collect questions which I will ask her then. Maybe she will give me permission to reveal more missing parts in that transcript and about the coming war. Believe it or not, this makes no real difference, but I hope you will believe. Oli K. All right. Oh my gosh. So let's just jump right in. Now that you've kind of gotten the disclaimer and just a little more inside information. Take with it like a grain of salt, obviously, and especially something that has been translated for somebody who doesn't know English very well. So to keep that in mind. Also, like I said, I just found this to be super interesting, and I felt like all of the translations through like YouTube and stuff, it was more of like the mechanical voice, so it was really hard to just listen to.
Yeah, kind of like you put into Google Translate.
Yeah, I mean, but it's weird because like I love those Reddit stories where like they read in the computer voice, but the computer voice 10 years ago versus the computer voice now is much better. So,
for sure, yeah.
All right, well, let's jump right in. Interviewer, question 1. First of all, who are you and what are you? Are you an extraterrestrial species, or can your origin be found on this planet?
Lacerta, answer 1. As you could see with your own eyes, I'm not a human being like you, and to be honest, I'm no real mammal, despite my partly mammal-like body features, which are a result of evolution. I'm a female reptile being, belonging to a very old reptilian race. We are the native Terrans, and we live on that planet since millions of years. Mentioned in the religious writings, like your Christian Bible, and many of the ancient human tribes were aware of our presence and worshipped us as gods. For example, the Egyptians and the Inca, and many other old tribes. Your Christian religion have misunderstood our role in your creation, so we are mentioned as evil serpent in your writings. This is wrong. Your race was genetically engineered by aliens, and we were just the more or less passive visitors that accelerated evolution process. You must know, some of your scientists have already supposed this, that your species had evolved in a naturally completely impossible speed within just 2 to 3 millions of years. This is absolutely impossible because of evolution is such a slower process. If it's natural, you have not understand this.
I know, it's hard. Yeah. I tried to catch as much as I could, but like I said,
Your creation was artificial and done by genetic engineering, but not by us, by an alien species. Ask me if I'm an extraterrestrial, I must answer no. We are native Terrans. We had and have some colonies in the solar system, but we originate on this planet. It is in fact our planet, not yours. It was never yours.
Okay, so to kind of jump on that question, or I guess response, not question. I feel like I've heard that we were like genetically engineered by aliens before.
I've never heard that theory, but
you're also not like an alien person.
No.
But no, I've heard that before. So that was kind of interesting to kind of loop back on that, especially for going back to 1999.
Yeah.
I think that was an even more interesting aspect of it because it was so like long ago. It was like 20 years ago.
When we were reading this, I was like 2000. That was like not that long ago.
I know. I was like 10 years ago.
Oh, that was like 20 years ago.
That was literally somebody's lifetime ago. And not like a baby. Like somebody born in 1999 is drinking right now.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, I was born in 97.
So. I was born in 97. I'm just a summer child. Okay, well, moving on. That was just kind of like I'm
just kind of like...
It's eerie when she said this planet was never yours.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Interviewer, question 2. Can you tell me your name?
Lacerta, answer 2. This is difficult because your human tongue is not able to pronounce it correctly, and a mispronunciation of our name is a very offensive thing for some of my kind. Our language is very different from yours, but my language is... I will try to say it smoother by use of your human letters. Something like... with a very, very strong pronunciation of the SH and the K sound. We have no forenames like you, but only a single but unique name, which is divided and characterized by the way of speaking, and which is given not to children who have an own children name, but only in a special procedure in the adolescent age, at the time of either religious or scientific enlightenment or awareness. As you would call it, I would appreciate it if you didn't try to say my real name with your human tongue. Please call me Lacerta. This is the name I generally use when I'm among humans and talk with them.
That's creepy. Like the naming thing's weird.
Yeah, I just...
Yeah.
Like, so you go, like, your entire childhood being called one name.
And then
one day, like, they decide that you're ready for...
But if that's, like, their culture...
Oh, for sure,
then I don't think they would think... And then, from what I gathered, don't they live, like, forever?
Yeah, they...
So, adolescence could be,
say,
like...
Yeah, I wonder what is defined as...
Well, like, I feel like she was, like, really old. Which we'll get into. But, I think... And, like, I mean, if that's, like, your culture...
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And, like, maybe... Like, who knows? Like, it's a... I don't want to call it an alien because she says she's not. But, it's not a human being. So their way of thinking, like, their capacity for thinking and understanding is going to be completely different.
Yeah, for sure. I was just thinking, like, I wonder what that process is like.
I don't know. I don't know the process, but it seems like it's once you hit a certain age or, like, the enlightenment thing. And, like, also, though, like, obviously not in a similar... thing, but like think about like when you were little versus now, like the names you'd go by as like a really young child and then what you go by now. Like yours is a little harder to like nicknameify, but like mine like is like literally everything. And like even now I wish I went by something else. Like desperately. Like I want to change it, but I don't think anybody would get on board, so. Okay, so interviewer question 3. How old are you?
We measure the time, not like you, in astronomical years and in the revolve of the Earth and around the Sun, because we usually live beneath the surface of the planet. Our time measurement depends on periodically returning cycles in the Earth's magnetic field. And according to this, and said with your numbers, I'm today, let me calculate, 57,653 cycles old. I have reached my adult phase in my awareness 16,337 cycles ago. This is a very important date for us. According to your human time scale, I'm around 28 years old.
Oh my God. See, like, I knew that she was old, but I didn't think she was that old.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of funny that we were just talking about it before. Like, I mean, obviously, like, we kind of go through the transcripts and stuff before I read them, but, like, it's not, like, memorizing. Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. That was, like, a little synchronicity.
Yeah.
But I wish I was 57,000 years old and like 28. God damn.
Heck yeah.
Interviewer question 4. What is your task? Do you have a job like us?
To say it with your words, I'm a curious student of the social behavior of your species. That's why I'm here to talk to you. That's why I have revealed my real nature to EF and now to you. That's why I give you all the secret information and why I will try to answer all the questions on your many sheets of paper honestly. I will see how you react, how others of your kind react. There are so many crazies and liars of your kind on this planet who claim to know the truth about us, about UFOs, about aliens, and so on. And some of you believe their lies. I'm interested to see how your species will react to the truth, which I will tell you now. I'm quite sure every one of you will refuse to believe my words, but I hope I'm wrong, because you need to understand if you want to survive the coming years.
That's so scary. But, like, also, like, if this is indeed true information...
She has good intentions.
Yeah, she's at least warning us, but I just want to know what the coming years, like, what does that mean? Which also, has anybody noticed, like, this... spike and kind of like that sort of activity and like it seems like they are being more open to like releasing those files like that video of like the Navy pilot like so maybe it's like coming now.
Well, that's kind of what I'm thinking, like by coming years does she mean 20 years
or does she mean well like she lives like she's 28 and being almost 60,000 years old. So what does that translate to realistically? Yeah. And then like, I don't know, and I really feel like the release of all of these new information and videos and things regarding like extraterrestrial UFO type things, which let's face it, a UFO is an unidentified object. It could be anything. Yeah, it could be anything. But like, I feel like they're like prepping us for like something bigger.
Yeah.
Like, because like, it's like, you just kind of like desensitize to it. So like when fit hits the shan, you're like, well, yeah, we had it coming.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of why I don't like.
You don't fuck with aliens? Yeah.
Because in my eyes, like this shit could like
it's
really be
fucking
going
scary.
Yeah.
Well,
dude, Okay, so when we lived in the country, we saw specifically. I remember there were like 4 red dots, and they were all like perfectly aligned in a square. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like the 2 bottom ones split off into 2 different ones, and they both went like different directions.
Ew!
Yeah, it was like that. Like that wasn't the lantern.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like a drone. You know what I mean? Like that was
some shit. I actually saw. Now that we're just gonna jump into this, this is the only thing I've seen that like it's really hard to like rationalize what it was.
Sorry, one more thing.
Okay.
So, and I wasn't. So Shay was in the car with me. Mm-hmm. But also, we were pulling up to my place of work at the time, which had a hotel on the residence, and people came running onto the hotel.
Oh, holy shit! Holy shit! So it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
See, this was a while ago. I think I would have been like early college because just where I saw it and who I was with, so like I know like kind of like the age. Mm-hmm. We were just standing out in the driveway, just like bullshitting, and all of a sudden we saw this like green light, like. Slowly, it was almost like it was like just flowing down, but like really slowly flowing down. I think the best way to describe it would be like a green flare, but not like, you know, when you shoot up flares, like choo. It was like slow motion green flare, like it was like almost how I would picture Aurora Borealis, but instead of like horizontally, it was vertically.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure.
And then like it just kind of like faded out. It was weird. And that could have very well been just like a light phenomenon. Like I don't know what it was. It was just different. I've never seen it since.
Yeah,
I never saw it before.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like you don't. These are just things that you look up at the sky and expect to see.
Exactly. Interviewer question 5. I've read your full statement, which you have given to EF about this, but can you give me a shorter answer? Are UFOs real flying objects piloted by extraterrestrials, or do they belong to your species?
Lacerta, answer 5. Some observed UFOs, as you call them, belong to us, but most not. Most of the mysterious flying objects in the sky are not technological devices, but mainly misinterpretations of natural phenomena your scientists have not understood, like spontaneous plasma flares.
Sorry.
Like spontaneous plasma flares in the high atmosphere. Nevertheless, some UFOs are real craft belonging either to our own species. Nevertheless, some UFOs are real craft belonging either to your own species, especially to your military, or to other alien species, or at last to us. But a minority of sighted crafts belong really to us, because we are generally very careful with our movements in the atmosphere, and we have special ways to hide our ships. If you read a report about a sighting of a metalish, bright gray, cigar-shaped cylindrical object with a length of, there are different types, let me say between 20 and 260 of your own meters, and if this object had made a very deep humming sound, and if there were 5 bright red lights on the metalish surface of the cigar, 1 at the top, 1 in the middle, 2 at the end.
Sorry.
It's okay. Then it's likely that someone of you have seen one of our ships, and this means that it was either partly defect or that someone of us was not careful enough. We have also a very small fleet of disc-shaped craft, but such UFOs belong usually to an alien species. Triangular UFOs belong generally to your own military, but they use foreign technology to build them. If you really want to try to see one of our craft, you should have a look over the skies. If you really want to try to see one of your craft, you should have a look at the skies over the Arctic and the Antarctic. And over inner Asia, especially over the mountains there.
Okay, bitch. Fuck. Like, literally, like, you saw a fucking reptilian fucking craft.
Could have been. I don't...
And, like, the plasma flare, like, is that what I saw?
I don't know, man, but, like, I remember that night vividly, man.
Well, yeah. Fuck. I wonder if that's what you saw. And then that military video from the Navy was that cigar shaped.
Yeah.
And they have the one called like the Tic Tac UFOs, which is also I would assume like a cigar shape.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Yeah.
And this was in 99.
Yeah. My only thought as to why mine wouldn't be that cigar shaped thing is because, like I said, they split off.
Yeah.
So
either way, that's fucking creepy. Like I said, we have read this before. We just kind of mostly skimmed it, and like, so it's not like we're telling our stories in preparation of like hearing what we're answering. Like, I can attest from, like, I saw what I saw. Like, I know what I saw. I've told a couple people about what I saw. Yeah. Haley, obviously, like, I have no reason to not believe her. Like, she has people who've also seen it, so it's not like she's the only person. So take it for what you will, but this episode has had a lot of synchronicities, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Interviewer, question 6. Have you a special symbol or something like that in which you can identify your kind?
Lacerta, answer 6. We have 2 major symbols representing our species. 1, the more ancient symbol, is a blue serpent with 4 white wings on a black background. The colors have religious meaning to us. This symbol was used for certain parts of my society, but it is today very seldom. You humans have copied it very often in your old writings. The other symbol is a mystic being you would call a dragon, in the shape of a circle with 7 white stars in the middle. This symbol is much more common today. If you see one of that symbol on a cylindrical craft I've described in my previous answer, or on some underground installation, this thing or place definitely belongs to us, and I would advise you to go away from there as soon as possible.
That's okay. One thing I kind of noticed that kind of, it's interesting to me that they have religion.
Yes, definitely. And I will say they mention dragons in the Bible. So
okay. Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting, like, and like, I don't know, just, and they talked about Inner Asia and how important the dragon symbol is to a lot of the cultures out there. So that's kind of also interesting that they would mention that. So that's kind of cool. Like, it's like I said, this is very interesting. But like I said, I think the thing that I kind of picked up on the most is the fact that they have like some sort of religion, which you wouldn't really assume like a being like that to have.
That's supposed to be so advanced.
Exactly, exactly. And like I said, the dragon thing too, that's really interesting, just based on so much of like the significance of a dragon.
Yeah, for sure, because they say that they mentioned their species, and then they also mentioned dragons. So I wonder if maybe that is what they mean by, or what she means when she says they're mentioned in their old writings.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, just a little interesting tidbit. Interviewer, question 7. The 7 stars and the second symbol you mentioned, do they mean the Pleiades?
Lacerta, answer 7. Pleiades, no. Actually, the 7 stars are planets and moons, and they are a symbol for our former 7 colonies in the solar system. The stars are shown in front of a blue background, and the dragon circle means the shape of the Earth. The 7 white stars mean Moon, Mars, Venus, and the 4 moons of Jupiter and Saturn, which we had colonized in the past. 2 colonies are no longer in use and abandoned, so 5 stars would be more correct.
That's another thing I found interesting, that like their symbols, so to speak, they actually have like meaning, like our flag. The stripes mean things, the stars mean things. So like it's kind of interesting that a being that, like I said, I would consider more advanced than we are, they use that same symbolism when using. I don't know, I just find that very interesting. Like, and kind of going back to that, I feel like that shows that, beings of intelligence have similar thought processes. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, it's just like back in the ancient times, those people were doing the same things that we're doing now on a different scale. Yeah. These quote unquote aliens, for lack of a better term, they're doing similar things that we do as different and it's a completely different species. Yeah. So maybe it has something to do with like a functioning brain to some degree. Oh yeah. I don't know.
Just finding
symbolism in like you know, and like the translation, like when she does translate it, like that makes sense to me. Like, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's, you know, just a tidbit I found interesting. Interviewer, question 8. As you have not allowed me to make photos, what would be very useful to prove your real existence and the truth of this story? Can you describe yourself in detail?
Lacerta, answer 8. I know that it would be very helpful to prove the authenticity of this interview if you can make some photos of me. Otherwise, you humans are very skeptic. That's good for us and for the real alien species acting secretly on this planet.
That's gross.
That's gross. So even if you had such photos, many of your kind would say that they are fraught, that I'm just a masked human woman or something like that.
Ew. Mm-hmm. Ew.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm just picturing what she looks like. And, like, you know, you can tell when somebody's wearing a costume. So, like, ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. You must understand that I can't give you permission to make photos of me or my equipment. For this, I have various reasons, which I want not to discuss with you further. But one of the reasons is the keeping up of the secrecy of our existence. Another reason is more religious. Nevertheless, you have permission to make drawings of my look and of my equipment. I can show you later. I can also try to describe myself, but I doubt that others of your kind will be able to imagine my real look just from the simple words, because the automatic denial of the existence of reptilian species, and generally of intelligent species other than your own, is part of the programming of your mind. Well, I will try. Imagine the body of a normal human woman, and you have at first a good imagination of my body. Like you, I have a head, 2 arms, 2 hands, 2 legs, and 2 feet, and the proportions of my body are like yours. As I am a female, I also have 2 breasts. Despite our reptile origin, we have started to give milk to our babies during the evolution process. This happened around 30 million years ago, because this is the best thing to keep the young alive. Evolution had done this for your species already in the dinosaur age, and a little bit later also for us. Not that we are now real mammals. But the breasts of us are not as large as those of human women, and the size of them is generally equal to every female of my kind. The external reproduction organs are, for both sexes, smaller than those of humans. Mm. But they are visible and they have the same function. Skin is mainly of a green-beige color, more pale green, and we have some patterns of brown irregular dots on our skin and in our faces. The patterns are different for both sexes, but females have more, especially in the lower body and in the face. You can see them in my case as 2 lines over the eyebrows crossing my forehead, at my cheek and at my chin. My eyes are a little bit larger than human eyes. For this reason, we can see better in the darkness, and usually dominated from the large black pupils, which are surrounded from a small, bright green iris. Males have dark green. The pupil is slit and can change its size from a small black line to a wide open egg-shaped oval, because our retina is very light sensitive and the pupil must compare this. We have external round ears, but they are smaller and have not as curved as yours, but we can hear better because our ears are more sensitive for sonic. We can also hear a wider range of sonic. There's a muscle or lid over the ears which can completely close them, for example underwater. Our nose is more pointed and there's a V-shape curving between the nostrils, which enable the ancestors to see temperature. We have lost most of this ability, but we can still feel temperature much better than this organ. Our lips are shaped like yours, those of females a little bit larger than those of the males. Our teeth are very white and strong and a little bit longer and sharper than your soft mammal. We have no different hair colors like you, but there is a tradition to color the hairs in different ages, and the original color is like mine, a greenish brown. Our hairs are thicker and stronger than yours, and they grow very slow. In addition, the head is the only part of our body where we have hair. Our body, arms, and legs are similar in shape and size to yours, but the color is different, green-beige like the face. And there are scale-like structures on the upper legs and upper arms. Our 5 fingers are a little bit longer and thinner than human fingers, and our skin on the palm is plain. So we have no lines like you, but again in combination of a scale-like skin texture and the brown dots. And we have no fingerprints like you. If you touch my skin, you will feel that it is smoother than your hair. There are small, sharp horns on the upside of both middle fingers. The fingernails are green and generally longer than yours. You see that my nails are not so long and round at the top. This is because I'm female. Males have sharp, pointed nails with a length of sometimes 5 or 6 of your centimeters. The following feature is very different from your body and part of our reptilian origin. If you touch the backside of my upper body, you will feel a hard, bony line through my clothing. This is not my spine, but a very difficult shaped external plate structure of skin and tissue following exactly our spine from the head to the hip. There is an extremely high number of nerves and large blood vessels in the structure in the plates, which are around 2 or 3 centimeters long and very touch sensitive. This is the reason why we have always had problems to sit in chairs with backs like this. The main task of these small plates, besides the role in our sexuality, is simply regulation of our body temperature. And if we sit in natural or artificial sunlight, these plates become more blood-filled and the vessels become wider and the sun is able to heat up our reptilioid blood, which circulates the body through the plates. For many degrees, that gives us great pleasure. What else is different from your kind? Oh, we have no navel because we were born in a different way to your mammal birth. The other exterior differences from your kind are minor, and I think I must not mention all now, because most of them are not visible if we wear clothing. I hope the description of my body was detailed enough. I would advise you to make some drawings.
Could you imagine if laying in the sun made you horny? Maybe not you in particular, because
but just like
you are prone to the sun is not your friend. It's interesting though. I mean, like with the size, he can't miss.
Yeah. You're right.
No GPS position.
No GPS. Well, so what struck me is the fact that they don't have belly buttons because they're born a different way than us. Well, so I do wonder how, like, what that...
It's like an egg?
Oh, true. Yeah, I guess a lot, like, reptiles do lay eggs.
I mean, that's where my brain went.
Yeah, that does make sense.
But,
you're right.
I don't know. It makes sense to me.
I was just curious as to, like,
I would assume, like, an egg.
Yeah, for sure.
Interviewer, question 9. What kind of clothing do you generally wear? I suppose this is not the way you normally dress?
Lacerta, answer 9. No, I wear this human everyday clothing only when I'm among humans.
Okay, I'm really, like, just like this human every day, and I was like, what?
No, I wear this human every day.
Ew.
It puts the lotion on its skin. Okay. No, I wear this human everyday clothing only when I'm among humans. To be honest, it's not very comfortable for me to wear such tight things, and it is always a very unusual feeling. If we are in our own home, this means in our subterranean home, or in our large artificial sun areas. If we are in our home, this means in our subterranean home, or in our large artificial sun areas, and if we are together with others near our own name, we are usually naked.
Ew. I would want to be naked in front of my dad.
Oh, you're right. That's what they mean by, like, close to our own name.
Or maybe, like, spouse.
Maybe.
And children.
Yeah.
I don't know, but, like, I'm just, like...
Do you take spouses? I mean, I guess we haven't...
Or maybe, like, a sexual partner.
I don't know. I don't know. So far, like...
It seems
they seem
similar.
Pretty similar to, so I don't know.
I mean, there's lots of differences, but it seems like there's a lot of similarities, too.
Yeah. Is this shocking for you? When we are in the public and together with many others of my species, we wear very wide and soft clothing made from thin, light stuff. I have told you that many parts of our bodies are very touch sensitive, mostly the small back plates, so we can't feel comfortable in tight clothing because it can hurt us. Man and women wear often the same kind of clothing, but the colors are different for the sexes.
I wouldn't expect them to wear clothing just because I just picture them as a giant reptile.
Yeah.
But then when she was, like, talking about being naked in front of, like, her family members, I was like, oh, gross.
You know, and she does mention that men and women wear the same kind of clothing.
Yeah.
So I wonder, like, how much sexuality is really a thing, or if it's
just for
breeding.
Well, but the sun also gives them pleasure.
Yeah.
So it must not necessarily be frowned upon because, like, that's how they get, and they said it brings us great pleasure. So I'm assuming that, you know, I don't think it's necessarily frowned upon, especially if you're, like, naked in front of, like...
Oh, you have to be pretty open for that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know if you're picturing this, but this is what I picture. Like, lizard people in togas.
Okay.
Like, that's what... That's
okay.
kind
I kind of thought like kimonos.
Oh, yeah. I like that better.
Yeah.
I was just picturing togas, just...
Toga.
Interviewer, question 10. You've said the... others near your own name. Do you mean your family?
Lacerta, answer 10. No, not really. You would call it family. But with this word, you mean only those of your kind which belong genetically together, like father or mother and child. And I have said earlier that we have a very difficult and unique name. Part of the pronunciation of that name is absolute unique, and there is no other being with the same name. But part of this name, the middle part, is pronounced a name in a way that told others to which family you belong. This means not that all in that group are genetically related to you, because these groups are usually very large and contain between 40 and 70 of us. This group includes generally your genetic relation, and your connections with father and mother is often the strongest. It would be too difficult for me to explain to you now our very old social system, which is very complex, and we would need many hours only for the primary things. Maybe we can meet another time and give you detailed descriptions of all these things.
So it seems like definitely like parents.
Yeah.
And then like other people.
Yeah, well, between 40 and 70, I'm like, is it like, well,
it's like cousins and siblings, but then siblings would probably branch off, like,
and then their kids,
and then so maybe it's like some familial, and then maybe it's like something like, you know, friends or the family you choose.
That's kind of the way I took it, because what she said originally, saying, you know, you think of blood related, but it's not a blood relation. So maybe it's like friends, or maybe even, because it says mother and father, so maybe it's like a spouse too. Like, I don't know, because like, I mean, I'm not blood related to that family, but like there's still my family, so maybe for sure,
maybe something like that. I don't know, but you know, just food for thought.
Yeah.
Interviewer, question 11. Have you a tail like normal reptiles?
Lacerta, answer 11. Do you see one? No, we have no visible tail. If you look at our skeleton, there is only a small rounded bone. This is a useless rudiment of the tail of our ancestors, but it is not visible from the outside. Oh, our embryos have tails during the first month of development, but these tails disappear before they were born. A tail makes only sense for a primitive species that tries to walk on two legs and must hold the balance with the tail. But our skeleton has changed during evolution, and our spine is nearly in the same shape as yours, so we need no tail to stay on 2 feet.
That's another like similarity with like the human embryo.
Yeah.
And then kind of, I don't know to what extent their nub looks like, but I mean that's essentially like your tailbone.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's maybe, but like I don't really know where the tailbone comes from. I don't think it was really like a tail. I don't know. Like ours.
Yeah.
Interviewer, question 12. You said that you were born in a different way to us. Do you lay eggs?
Lacerta, answer 12. Yes, but not like your birds or primitive reptiles. Actually, the embryo grows in a protein liquid inside the mother's womb. But there is also an egg-shaped but very thin chalk hole around it. That fills the whole womb. The embryo inside the hole is completely autark from the mother's body, and it has every substance it needs to develop inside the chalk hole. There is also a cord like your navel cord, which is connected to a point hidden behind the back plates. When the baby is going to be born, the whole egg is pressed through the vagina, covered in a slimy protein substance, and the baby comes out of its soft egg after some minutes. These two horns on our middle fingers were instinctively used from babies to break through the chalk hole to take their first breath. Our young are not as large as your babies when they are born. They are between 30 and 35 of your centimeters tall, and the egg is around 40 centimeters tall. This is because our vagina is smaller than a human one. God, we are like 3.
Gross.
1.60 to 1.80 meters.
Oh, the egg thing was interesting too, but, I feel like they answered questions. Interviewer, question 13. What about your body temperature? You've said that you enjoy to lay in the sun. What effect has this on your organism?
Lacerta, answer 13. We are no mammals, and as reptiles, our body temperature depends on the temperature of our surroundings. If you touch my hand, you will maybe feel that it is colder than yours, because our normal body temperature is around 30 to 33 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, 86 degrees would be 30 degrees Celsius.
If we sit in the sun, especially naked and with our row of small back plates in the sun, our body temperature can rise for 8 or 9 degrees within minutes. This rise causes a production of many enzymes and hormones in our body. Our heart and brain and every organ becomes more active, and we feel then very, very good. You humans only enjoy to be in the sun, but for us it is the greatest pleasure you can imagine, maybe like your sexual excitement. Mm-mm. We also enjoy to swim in very warm water or other liquids to raise our body temperature. If we are for some hours in the shadow, our temperature goes back to 30 to 33 degrees, which can cause no harm to us, but we feel much better in the sun. We have artificial sunrooms in the underground, but it is not the same for us like the real sun.
That's one thing I'm kind of like picking up on is like they like live underground, but like they enjoy the sun. Yeah. Which is good. But in that same sense, like I remember like, because everybody says the reptilians live underground. Mm-hmm. So, and like a lot of people say the reptilians live underground, like this is their planet. Like, yeah. So I wonder, like, I don't know, it just makes me nervous that they're just going to like come out and say, I'm coming back. Yeah. And then also, like, I know that they've been talking about, like, evolution, and they do say that they do come out and they look like humans, but, like, you'd think that living underground for so long, you'd think that their eyes would not be larger for the dark. They would actually be, like, blind.
Yeah. But, like the mole people?
Yeah, or, like, those, like, little fish that they found in those caves and stuff that are, like, a normal-ass, like, fish, but it's a blind fish.
Oh, I was actually going to bring up, she's discussed earlier how she's much better at seeing in the dark and how she's much better at hearing and everything.
Oh, yeah.
That's fucking terrifying.
That is very scary. Because you, like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I don't like to think about that. Like, now I'm just picturing
that's like
one,
Apex Predator kind of shit.
That's fucking scary. I mean, realistically.
Yeah.
If this is true and based on the things that I've heard about reptilians, like, they fucking are, and they're just kind of biding their time. Mm. Fuck!
Yeah.
I think the queen's a reptile. Mark Zuckerberg definitely is. Did you see his eyes in that interview?
I've seen that video.
Yeah, and then Justin Bieber.
You think Justin Bieber's a reptilian?
Yeah, I did. Did you see when he was, like, going to jail? Well, not going to jail, but, like, that court video, and his eyes get weird, like Mark Zuckerberg's eyes?
No.
He's a reptile. Sorry.
I have a few teachers that I thought were reptilians.
You silly. Interviewer, question 14. What do you eat?
Lacerta, answer 14. Generally various things like you. Flesh, fruit, vegetables, special kinds of fungus from subterranean farms, and other things. We can also eat and digest some substances which are poisonous for you. The main difference between you and us is that we must eat flesh, because our body needs the proteins. We can't live completely vegetarian like your kind because our digestion would stop working and we would die after some weeks, or maybe months without flesh. Many of us eat raw flesh or other things, which would be disgusting for you. Personally, I prefer cooked flesh and surface fruits like apples or oranges. Okay. I hate the fact that they just say flesh.
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say that. Interviewer, question 15. Can you tell me something about the natural history and evolution of your species? How old is your species? Have you evolved from primitive reptiles as mankind has evolved from apes?
Lacerta, answer 15. Oh, this is a very long and complex story, and it sounds certainly unbelievable to you, but it is the truth. I will try to explain it in short. Around 65 million years ago, many of our unadvanced ancestors from the dinosaur race died in a great global cataclysm. The reason for this destruction was not a natural disaster. An asteroid impacts, as your scientists believe falsely, but a war between two enemy alien groups that took mainly place in the orbit and high atmosphere of your planet. According to our limited knowledge about the early days, this global war was the first alien war on the planet Earth, but it was definitely not the last. And a future war is coming soon, while a Cold War, as you call it, between alien groups is ongoing since the last 73 years on your planet. The opponent in this 65 million year old war were two advanced alien species, whose both names are again not pronounceable for your tongues. I'm able to say them, but it would hurt your ear if I tell you the names in their original way. One race was humanoid, like your species, but much older, and from this universe. From a solar system in the star constellation you call Procyon, today in your maps. The other species, about which we know not so much, was a reptilian species, but they have nothing to do with our own species, because we have evolved from local saurians without exterior influence, except the successful manipulation of our own genes by us. More about that later. The advanced reptilian species came not from the universe, but from how should I explain it to you? Your scientists have not really understood the true nature of the universe, because your illogical mind is not able to see the easiest things and relies on wrong mathematics and numbers. This is part of the genetic programming of your kind, to which I will come later. Let me say that you are nearly as far away from the understandings of the universe as you were 500 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. To use a term you will maybe understand, the other species came not from this universe, but from another bubble in the foam of the omniverse. You would call it maybe another dimension, but this is not the right word to describe it correctly. By the way, the term dimension is generally wrong in the way you understand it. The fact you should remember is that the advanced species are able to walk between the bubbles by use of, as you would call it, quantum technology, and sometimes in special ways only by use of their mind. My own species has also advanced mental abilities in comparison to your species, but we are not able to do the matter string bubble changing without technology. But other species active on this planet are able, and this looks to you like magic, as it had to your ancestors. Back to our own history. The first species, the humanoids, had reached Earth around 150 years before the reptilians, and they built some colonies on the former continents. There was a large colony on the continent you call Antarctica today, and another one on the continent you call Asia today. These people lived together with animal-like saurians on the planet without problems. When the advanced reptilian species arrived in the system, the humanoid colonists from Procyon tried to communicate peacefully, but they were not successful, and a global war started within months. You must understand that both species were interested in the young planet, not for its biology, an undeveloped species, but only for one reason: raw material, especially copper. To understand this reason, you must know that copper is a very important material for some advanced species, even today, because it is, together with some unstable materials, able to produce new stable elements if you produce a high electromagnetic field in the right angle with a high nuclear radiation field to produce an overcrossing of fluctuating fields. The fusion of copper with other elements in such a magnetic radiation field chamber can produce a force field of special nature that is very useful for various technological tasks. But the base for this is an extremely complex formula you are not able to discover because of the restrictions of your simple mind. Both species wanted to have the copper of planet Earth, and for this reason, they fought a not very long war in space in orbit. The humanoid species seemed to be successful during the first time, but in a last battle, the reptilians decided to use a mighty experimental weapon, a special kind of fusion bomb which would destroy the life forms on the planet, but should not harm the valuable raw material and the copper. The bomb was fired from space and detonated at a point of your planet you call Middle America today. As it detonated in the ocean, it produced an unpredictable fusion with hydrogen, and the effect was much stronger than the reptilians had expected. A deadly radiation, an overproduction of fusion oxygen, a fallout of different elements, and a nuclear winter for nearly 200 years were the result. Most of the humanoids were killed, and the reptilians lost their interest in the planet after some years for unknown reasons, maybe because of the radiation. Planet Earth was on its own again, and the animals on the surface died. By the way, one result of the fusion bomb was the fallout of different elements and materials created in the burning process, and one of those materials was iridium. Your human scientists today see the iridium concentration in the ground as an evidence for an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs. That is not true. But how should you know that? Well, most of the dinosaurs died. Not all in the detonation, but in the bad things which came after the war, especially in the nuclear winter and in the fallout. Nearly all dinosaurs and reptilians were dead within the next 20 years. Some of them, especially those in the oceans, were able to survive for the next 200 to 300 years, even in the changed world. But these species also died because the climate had changed. The nuclear winter ended after 200 years, but it was colder on Earth than before. Despite the cataclysm, some species were able to survive. Fish like sharks, birds, little creepy mammals, your ancestors. Various reptiles like crocodiles. There was a special kind of small but advanced dinosaurs, which had developed together with the last large animal reptilians, like the species you called Tyrannosaurus. This new reptile was walking on two legs and looked a little bit like your reconstruction of an iguanodon. It originated in this family, but it was smaller, around 1.50 meters tall, with some humanoid features: a changed bone structure, a larger skull and brain, a hand with a thumb which was able to grab things, a different organism and digestion, advanced eyes in the middle of the head like yours, and most important, with a new, better brain structure. This was our direct ancestor. There are theories that the radiation from the bomb took part in the mutations of the organism of this new breed, but this is not proven. Nevertheless, this little humanoid-like dinosaur evolved during the following 30 million years. As I have said early, a species need generally more time to evolve than you think, if the evolution is not artificially induced like in your case. From an animal to a more or less thinking being. These beings were intelligent enough not to die in the next millions of years, because they learned to change their behavior. They lived in caves instead of the cold nature, and they learned to use stones and branches as first tools, and the use of fire has helped to warm them, especially to warm their blood, which is very important for our kind to survive. During the next 20 million years, the species was divided by nature to 27 subspecies. Unfortunately, former reptilian species were prone to divide themselves in a more or less unlogical way into subspecies during the evolution process. You can clearly see this in the unnecessary high number of animal dinosaur species in earlier times. And there were many, mainly primitive wars between the subspecies for dominance. Well, nature was not very friendly to us, as far as we know, from the 27 subspecies. 24 were extinct in the primitive wars and in evolution. Because their organism and mind was not developed enough to survive, they were not able to change their blood temperature in the right way if the climate changed. 50 million years after the war and after the end of the dinosaurs, only 3 advanced reptilian species were remaining on the planet together with all of the other lower animals. Through natural and artificial crossbreedings, those 3 species were united to one reptilian species, and through the invention of genetic manipulations, we were able to eliminate the dividing prone genes in our genetic structure. According to our history and belief, this was the time when our final reptilian race, as you see me today, was created by the use of genetic engineering. This was around 10 million years ago, and our evolution nearly stopped at this point. Well, actually there were some minor changes in our look towards a more humanoid and mammal-like appearance during the coming ages, but we have not divided again into subspecies. You see, we are a very old race in comparison to your kind, which was jumping around as small monkey-like animals in the trees at this time, while we invented technology, colonized the planets of the system, built large cities on this planet, which disappeared without a trace in the ages, and engineered our own genes, while your genes were still those of animals.
Fucking flex. She is a savage.
10 million years ago, the small simians started to grow and they came down from the trees to the ground. Again, because of the change of the climate, especially on the so-called African continent. But they evolved very slow, as it is normal for a mammal. And if nothing extraordinary had happened to your kind, we wouldn't be able to sit here and talk, because I would sit in my comfortable modern house and you would sit in your cave clothed with fur and trying to discover the secrets of life. Or you would sit in one of our zoos. Fuck, dude.
Isn't that weird? It's fucked up.
It is fucked up. And it's like, oh, it makes my skin crawl.
It's scary. Alien shit's fucking weird and creepy.
It is. But the things had developed differently, and you believe now you are the crown of creation, and you can sit in the modern house, and we must hide and live beneath the earth and in remote areas. Around 1.5 million years ago, another alien species arrived at Earth. It was surprisingly the first species since over 60 million years. This would be more surprising for you if you would know how many different species there are today. The interest of this humanoid species, you call them Elohim today, was not raw material and the copper. It were, to our astonishment, the unadvanced ape humanoids. Despite of our presence on this planet, the aliens decided to help the apes to evolve a little bit faster, to serve them in the future as some kind of slave race in coming wars. Oh, fuck. The fate of your species was not really important to us, but we didn't like the presence of the Elohim on your planet, and they didn't like our presence on their new galactic zoo.
Oh my god.
And so your 6th and 7th creation was the reason for a war between us and them. You can read about that war, for example, partly in the book you call Bible. In a very strange way of description, the real truth is a very long, difficult story. Should I continue?
Okay, one thing, that was insane, by the way. Holy shit. One thing is, like, they state that they're more, like, advanced than we are. Mm-hmm. So, why do they feel like they have to be underground if they could just, like, take over?
Maybe they're just not like humans that are just fucking want to assert their dominance on fucking everything, you know what I mean? Like,
it's just, you know, I don't know. It's just, well, because just, like, the way that she was describing it, like, basically putting us in zoos. Mm-hmm. So that just made me curious.
Yeah.
It's just, like, that. I think out of that whole entire thing, that was the one thing that kind of stuck out, I guess.
Yeah. It's just, like, it's made me uncomfy.
Yeah, it's not fun. It's just, it's scary to think about. Mm-hmm. Because, like, real or not, like, it's just, it's eerie. It's super, it's scary.
For sure. Yeah.
It'd make a great, like, horror movie.
And it's, like, the way that they describe it is, like, literally anyone in your life could be.
Right? It could be a reptile.
Yeah.
And you would never know.
You would never know. And, like, you don't know their motives. You
right.
don't know. Yeah.
And, like, who knows, like, even, like, say if it was, like, Gage, like, does he go to work or does he go to an underground cave to, like, get energy from the sun?
Exactly.
Ew, now everyone's an alien. I'm not.
Are you? I got too much titty.
I mean, if we're going to go by titty. Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So we're good.
Alien. Okay, well, I trust you. Interviewer, question 16. First of all, you handled a very large time scale. You claim that your primitive ancestors lived together with the dinosaurs, survived the, as you call it, artificial cataclysm, and evolved then over 40 million years. And your evolution was completed 10 million years ago. This sounds very unbelievable to me. Can you say something to this?
Lacerta, answer 16. I understand that this must sound absolutely unbelievable to you, because you are a young and genetically engineered species. Your historical horizon ends at a scale of just some thousands of years, and you think this is right. But it isn't. This is impossible. Your programmed mind is obviously not able to handle with such large time scales. Our evolution time may seem incredibly long to you, but this is in fact the original way of nature. Remember, your early mammal ancestors developed together with dinosaurs, and they survived the bomb like us. They evolved slowly during the next millions of years, and they divided into various species and shapes. Some of them larger, some of them smaller. This is evolution of the body. But what about their mind and their intelligence? They were simple animals. The mammals evolved since, let us say, 150 millions of years, but only the last 2 to 3 millions of years they were able to become intelligent and thinking. And within this small period, beings like you were created. From nature, 148 millions of years time for the evolution of animals like mammals. 2 million of years time of the development of you. Ask yourself, do you really think this is accelerated evolution is natural? Then your species is more ignorant than I've thought. We are not evolved wrong, but you.
Well, it's not like we can control our evolution.
Shit, you did
Chill, bitch. Oh, God. Interviewer, question 17. I understand, but I have another question. You've mentioned many facts about the ancient war between the aliens 65 million years ago. This happened very long before your kind became really intelligent, as far as I have understood. Why do you know so many things about that first war and the evolution of your species?
Lacerta, answer 17. This is a good question, much better than the previous, and I have not explained it properly to you. Our knowledge about the First War comes completely from an ancient artifact, which was found around 16,000 years ago from our archaeologists on the continent of what you call North America today. They found there a round plate with diameter of approximately 47 of your centimeters. The plate was made of an even, for us, unknown magnetic material. And inside the plate, there was another smaller crystal plate, which contained an enormous amount of information coded in the molecular structure of the crystal. This memory plate was manufactured from the last bomb survivors of the human race from Procyon, already 65 million years ago, but it was completely intact when we found it. Our scientists were able to encode the messages and data, so we heard the first time about the events which took place in the distant past which led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. The plate contained detailed descriptions of both species, but more about the humanoids, and about the events and weapons, including fusion bomb. It contained also a description of the animals and saurians on the Earth, including our pre-intelligent ancestor species. The rest of our knowledge about our evolution comes from skeletons and from the back reading and de-encoding of our DNA. You see, we know the real truth about our roots for 16,000 years. Before that time, there was a more religious idea of our creation.
Oh, so it's interesting that they have they can incorporate science and history and religion.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like human beings just can't, everything has to be separate.
Yeah, definitely.
At least the science and the religion.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking?
Huh?
Do you think we just kind of sealed our fate? Some reptilians can also just be yep, they're the first to die.
Oh, right? Oh, no, Haley. I was kind of thinking it, but now you said it out loud, so it's real.
Did I just oh, God.
You killed us.
Shit.
I'm kidding. Interviewer, question 18. What has happened with both alien species?
Lacerta, answer 18. We don't know exactly. The surviving humanoids on Earth obviously died in the years after the bomb, and others of their kind and the reptilians never came back to Earth, as far as we know. Concerning the reptilian aliens, there is a possibility that it was physically impossible for them to return because the matter between bubbles is sometimes in rapid movement. The current theory is that both species had ceased to exist during the millions of years.
Interviewer, question 19. You've mentioned skeletons of your kind. How can it be that human scientists haven't found any trace of you and your ancestors if you really lived for such a long time on this planet? We have found many skeletons of primitive dinosaurs, but none of an advanced reptilian being with a larger skull and brain and hand with thumb as you have described before.
Lacerta, answer 19. Yes, you have, but your great scientists were not able to reconstruct the skeletons completely because they wanted to reconstruct reptilian animals, not intelligent beings. You would laugh if you knew how many of these, especially small, saurian skeletons in your museum are totally wrong constructions of never existing beings.
I mean, realistically, though,
that's probably even
it's
if
pretty accurate. Yeah,
true,
I mean,
that's accurate.
It's and even the reconstruction of the bones, a lot of them, the bone structure is probably fairly accurate because they usually find it pretty close together. Mm-hmm. But how the fuck do they know what it looked like?
Exactly.
That's one thing that.
And there's I know cases where people believe that they've, like, meshed two different creatures
Oh,
together.
yeah, absolutely. So that's very easy. Absolutely. I completely agree with this statement.
Because you used many bones which didn't really which really didn't belong together, and sometimes made artificial bones of something if something was missing. You needed to construct an animal saurian. Many of your scientists are aware of this problem, but they don't make it public because they can't explain it, and they claim that the right bones were just missing and their reconstruction is right. Many bones of us were used for iguanodon reconstructions. For example, the hands with the visible thumb. Look at an iguanodon in a museum and you'll see that I'm right. I know, I really want to go look at one.
I know.
A scientist in the country you call the United States had built a nearly correct skeleton of our kind some years ago, but the local government, which is partly aware of our existence, confiscated the reconstruction as we live today. And since thousands of years, as we live today nearly completely under the earth, you will not find any dappers of skeletons of us.
That's interesting, and that makes me want to look up an iguanodon.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, Stevie and I talk about iguanas and, like, getting an iguana all the time. I did not know an iguanodon existed until 5 seconds ago, and I just...
Wait, really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know dinosaurs.
I play a lot of Ark.
Well, it was just weird that I was typing in iguana, and it just was like,
iguana.
oh, that's what they are. They're so cute. I've always loved these ones, and you can see his little thumb.
Yep.
They're so cute. I love him. Oh, look at this one. They're cute. Oh my. This one's got stripes. Oh, they're my new favorite. It's so cutie. I'm sorry, reptilians. I'm not trying to disrespect you, but they are so cute.
Well, like they said, iguanodons are not correctly shaped.
Yeah. Well, so they might, but the pretend is cute.
Yeah.
Interviewer, question 20. You speak sometimes about underground cities and artificial sunlight. Do you mean something like a hollow earth with this? Is there a second sun inside of our planet? Which, pause on that. What about the core of the earth you could use as like a sun?
Yeah.
Huh. Anyway, sorry.
No, you're fine. Lacerta, answer 20. No, Earth is not really completely hollow, and there is no second sun inside. This story is ridiculous and physically not possible. Even your species should be intelligent enough. Do you know how much mass a sun must have to produce energy and light for a long time by fusion? Do you really think that there could be a small active sun inside the planet? When I talk about our subterranean home, I talk about large cave systems. The caves you have discovered near to the surface are tiny in comparison to the real caves in huge caverns deep in the earth, in a depth of 2,000 to 8,000 of your meters, but connected with many hidden tunnels or to surface near caves. And we live in a large and advanced cities and colonies inside such caves. Major sites of us are beyond the Arctic, the Antarctic, Inner Asia, North America, and Australia. If I talk about artificial sunlight in our cities, I don't mean a real sun, but various technological sources of light, including gravitational sources, which illuminates the caverns and tunnels. There are special cave areas and tunnels with a strong UV light in every city, and we use those places to heat our blood. Furthermore, we have also some surface sun places in remote areas, especially in America and Australia. Interesting. You know, like this whole time I'm thinking of like the catacombs.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be... I want to go there.
I don't.
Interviewer, question 21. Where can we find such surface near entry to your world?
Lacerta, answer 21. Do you really think I will tell you their exact location? If you want to find such an entry, you have to search it by yourself. But I would advise you not to do that. When I came to the surface 4 days ago, I used an entry approximately 300 of your kilometers north from here, near to a large lake. But I doubt that you would be able to find it. There are only a few entries in this part of the world. More are far more north and east. As a little advice, if you are in a narrow cave or in a tunnel, or even in something that looks to you like an artificial mine shaft, as deeper you walk, the smoother appears the wall. And if you feel unusual warm air streaming from the depth, or if you hear the rushing sound of streaming air in a ventilation or elevator shaft, Then look for a special kind of artificial and smooth wall somewhere in the cave, with a door made of gray metal. If you would be able to open that door, but I doubt this, you would be in a unusually round technical room with ventilation systems and elevators to the depth. This is probably an entry to our world. If you've reached this point, you should know that we are now definitely aware of your presence.
Oh.
You are already in big trouble if you've entered the round room, but you should look for one of the two reptilian symbols on the wall. If there are no symbols or other symbols, you are maybe in bigger trouble as you think, because not every underground installation belongs to our kind. Some new tunnel systems are operated from alien races, including hostile races. My general advice: if you find yourself in a strange underground installation, run away as fast as you can.
That's terrifying, especially because, like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but you live really close to, like, a cave system.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But I wouldn't find myself just, like, fucking walking in.
No, but, like, you wouldn't find yourself just walking in, but, like, they might be walking out.
True. Thanks for that.
Like, literally, I get off my exit because I've been taking 80 because it's so just, like, nasty. And it says, like, star drop, just...
like 12 miles.
Don't worry. You'll be okay.
You know.
Just leave some, like, raw meat outside. I think that would...
Yeah, the flesh.
Flesh. I crave flesh.
What is it? I have a rumbling in my tummy that only you...
That's my dog.
I have a rumbling in my tummy that only hands can...
That's amazing. That just reminds me of that one meme with the cat. He's like, "Mother, I crave violence."
That's Jinx to a T.
I feel like that's a Ruru. Just love that one. That's my favorite.
I know, right?
It's funny. Oh, interviewer question 22. You mentioned earlier that you use the name Lacerta when you are among humans and that you enjoy it to be in the real sun on the surface Earth. But how can you be among humans? You don't look like us, so anyone will see that you belong to another species. Why has nobody seen and described a being like you if your kind lives already since our creation together with us on the same planet? Can you explain this to me?
Lacerta, answer 22. First, you can't just go around asking people why they're white. First, my kind was of course seen and described and worshipped many times in your primitive past. For example, in your religious writings, like your Christian Bible, you can find descriptions and even simple drawings of us. We're also in the southern part of the American continent on various temples.
No.
So-called wise men from India and from the Asian mountains have described our species many times in writings, together with other wise men from the African continent. I think we are the most mentioned non-human species, maybe beside the Elohim, in your history. If you don't believe me, you have a look at your history and you will see the truth of my words. Your great scientists called belief in us superstition and religion, and today intelligent humans have forgotten our presence on the surface and in the past. Furthermore, our species is seen even today sometimes from human witnesses in its original shape on Earth or in our surface near entries and tunnel systems. But fortunately you and your media didn't take the reports of such crazies serious. That's good for us, and that's the reason why we allow those people to see us as we really are. Some of my species are also in direct contact with human scientists and politicians from the surface. Yeah, that makes sense though.
Yeah, realistically.
But this is top secret, as you would call it, and nobody of your public knows anything about it. The matter of this meeting is generally the upcoming war between the alien species and our assistance in the war. But there's also another explanation why we can walk among you and you are not able to recognize us. Mimicry.
Okay, gross.
A little bit.
And then, like, the interacting with, like, politicians and such, like, you literally just said it, so now, like, we know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And, like, I feel like people have been saying this for, like, ever, though.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was thinking, she seems very, serious and to the point and whatnot. But maybe she's not, like... Maybe she's just putting us in our fucking place.
Yeah, you know yeah. I mean, like, it's really hard to understand the context from, like, just reading a transcript. Like, if it was, like, an audio file, like, it'd be easier to read. Yeah.
But, like, I mean, humans, they're very, like she said, that we think we're the, like...
We think that we're, like, the end-all, be-all. Like, we're, like, it. We're, we are the apex predator in our minds.
Yeah, and if they're living underground and... You know, sometimes you just gotta fucking let them know how it is.
Right,
you know
I mean, yeah.
The following may again sound unbelievable and even shocking to you. But as you've asked, I will explain it. I had told you before that we have more advanced mental abilities than your species. And with more advanced, I mean that we are able to use telepathy and telekinesis from our birth on. In fact... Mother and newborn child communicate generally with telepathy during the first months.
That would be so fucking convenient.
Right?
Your baby wouldn't cry.
Right? Yeah. You could actually, like, ask him what the fuck he needs.
Right? Like, shut the fuck up. We're trying to sleep. Don't say anything to me again until 7. I don't care what you need.
Without special training as you need it to activate these sleeping parts of your brain. The structure of our brain is a little bit different from yours. In our... Hypophyse?
I have no idea.
Is larger and more active than yours, especially when we are in the sunlight. Our own abilities are very strong in comparison to yours, but weak in the comparison to the matter string bubble. Mind forces of some of the alien species on this planet. I was never very good in that mind thing, but we have all these primary abilities and can use them, for example, for our protection or even for attack. When we are on the surface and we meet human beings, even a large group of them, this makes no difference. All of our minds are like one mind. We are able to touch their mind and induce them via telepathy and command. See us as one of your kind. And the weak-minded human will accept this order without refusion, and they will see us, despite our reptilian look, as normal humans. I've done this many times, and you weak humans generally see me as an attractive brown-haired woman, because I have created this special mimicry image in my mind years ago, and I can induce it into your minds without problem. I've needed some time at the beginning to learn the use of the mimicry correctly, but then it works nearly automatically. I can even walk among a group of yours, and nobody will recognize what I am. There's a simple switch. See us as we really are. See us as we want you to see us. In your consciousness, which was placed there from the Elohim when they created your kind, and we can use this switch to convince you that you see humans when you look at us. Other aliens use this switch too. It is easier as you think. When there are meetings between your kind and aliens which seem to look exactly like yours, these aliens have used that switch, and some of the meetings with man-like aliens can be also explained with meetings with my kind. When I met EF the first time, he saw me also as a normal human woman, and I remember that. He was very frightened and shocked when I revealed him my real appearance.
Could you imagine that, though?
No. Because I wonder...
It would just be scary.
It would be scary, because it's like someone standing in front of you, and all of a sudden it just...
Yeah, and what would be worse is if it was somebody that you knew.
Oh my gosh, yeah, exactly.
I would shit myself.
Yeah. Oh.
It would be scary.
It would be scary.
It's interesting that they don't really have, like, a cloaking device, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
But then again, like, the telepathy thing, since it's just natural, it just could so advance that, like, if you walk by a person, you're like, I'm this. Yeah. I'm people. And then they're like, yeah, whatever. So, like, to me, it's like, do they actually, like, look like that, or are they just telling us that's what they look like?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
You know,
the more I read this, the more I think that my fiance is a reptilian.
Are you serious? Oh no.
He sits down in the basement underground.
Oh yeah.
And sits in front of his PC with his unnatural light.
Oh, ew. And like she was saying like, and like his diet sucks.
His diet's
and
awful.
She
All
was
he
saying,
eats is meat.
Yeah.
Meat and potatoes.
Yeah, and she was saying that like they can digest things that would be poisonous. Like I
yeah,
can't imagine. I wouldn't be that thin if I ate like that.
Know, right?
So like,
right?
Yeah, he an alien girl.
Shit.
I'm glad you love him. I hope he reveals himself before the wedding.
I don't.
Well, so okay. And that being said, would you rather live in denial and just see him as a person forever, or would you want to know him for his true self?
You know what? I would love him either way.
Okay, that's good. That's good. That's important.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. What if, though, would you still love him if he was, like, a gross alien all the time and, like, that's how he let you see him? Like, it's just, like, a big lizard.
Yeah.
You'd still, like, do the dirty?
I do the dirty.
You're gross.
I know. No king shaming.
Okay, question 23. Do you mean that you can really make me believe that I talk now with an attractive brown-haired human woman instead of a reptilian being like you?
Lacerta, answer 23. Probably, but I don't think so in your special case. What the fuck does that mean?
Maybe because he's already seen her as an alien.
Yeah, for sure. When someone expects to see a human woman instead of me, I can do it without problems with his mind, even with large groups, because nobody expects to see a reptile woman. But I have allowed your mind to see me in my original appearance from our first meeting on, and I have never induced something into your mind. So you have already realized that I am not human. If I would now try to change this, it would probably lead to an absolute confusion or unconsciousness, and I don't want to harm you. As I have said, I'm not very good in these things. That does make sense.
Yeah, I mean, we were right in that, like, guess.
Yeah.
Hypothesis. Our interviewer, question 24. That's very scary. Can you kill with those abilities? Oh, ew.
Lacerta, answer 24. Yes, but it is forbidden.
Oh,
this means not that it was not done in previous times.
Okay, so, like, we're good.
Well, we're good at them, but, like, she's telling us about all the other...
Yeah, I'm just saying, though, like...
Yeah, for sure.
This is what I care about this minute. So you're fine, even if they...
They just said with those abilities. They don't mean in general.
What if, like, you had a nice one and it lived in your yard? And he was, like, your, like, guard lizard.
Or what if I was, like... You know how there was, like, I wish I had a best friend with their house was, like, connected to mine. Like, they had a tunnel.
Oh, yeah!
What if you had, like, a best friend
Best
and
friend.
he lived in your backyard?
That would be super cool.
That would be awesome.
I gotta make that happen. Interviewer, question 25. Have both sexes this ability?
Lacerta, answer 25. Yes.
Interviewer, question 26. What about photos? How do you appear in photos?
Lacerta, answer 26. This is a silly question. Appear in photos as a reptile being because I can't have influence on the photo or on the camera itself, but only on the photographer's mind. If he or she would develop the film and show the photos to others, they would see me in my original shape. That's the reason why it is forbidden for our kind to be filmed or photographed, and we must avoid every camera on the surface. That is very difficult, and we were filmed sometimes in the past without our knowledge, especially from certain of your governments and secret agencies. That would be very hard because we live in such a surveillance.
Oh yeah,
surveillance state.
Everything, surveillance, and like just people taking out their cameras in general.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like what if you were taking a picture of like architecture and somebody walked by?
Mm-hmm. We have cameras on us 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. Also, we don't like image takers.
Oh no! I don't like that.
That's where I was thinking like that entire time. Oh my gosh. I've never been more popular than when my husband works nights. Interviewer, question 27. What other commands can your kind induce into our minds? Something like serve us or obey?
Lacerta, answer 27. This is again a strange question. We are not your enemy. Most of us not. So why would we do this? To answer your question, it depends on the strength of the human mind and on the strength of the sending reptilian. There is no serve us or serve me switch in your mind, so such a command is much more difficult to induce. If the human mind and consciousness is weak and the reptilian inducer is experienced in these things and has some hours in the sun before he or she tries to do it, then it could probably work for a certain time. There are secret teachings about such things, but I've never learned anything about it. I use my primary abilities for mimicry and for communication with my own kind, and sometimes for other private things, but I've never used it to harm humans or their mind. I would appreciate it if we could end with this topic here. Trying to warn us and, like, help us.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't owe that to us. You know what I mean? Like, they're living underground.
Exactly. She absolutely doesn't owe that to us, especially if we are the reason they are underground.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think from this, it doesn't seem, at least, like the terrestrial reptilians do seem to be, like, nicer.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of looking out for us in a way. Mm-hmm. It does seem to be the case because she does say something about, like, other people being bad, which we know there's going to be bad and good no matter what.
Of course,
but
yeah.
I think maybe, though, in that same token, maybe they are nicer to us and looking out for us more because, like, if there is going to be a war, it's going to be here.
Yeah.
You know, or theoretically, it would be here, and this is their home planet. So if they don't take care of us and warn us, then they might get fucked in the end, too.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting.
This whole thing is very interesting to me, I think. It's just a lot of information. We're getting there, though. Interviewer, question 28. A last question. You've said earlier that you can hide your UFOs. Do you use the same abilities to do this?
Lacerta, answer 28. Yes, but on a technical base. There is a powerful device inside each craft which is able to send an artificial signal to your minds to convince you that you see either nothing but only the sky or that you see normal aircraft like planes instead of our ships. This isn't used very often because we avoid human public when we move in the atmosphere. If you are able to see our UFOs, it means that the device is either defect or deactivated for some reason. The camouflage didn't work on the photos. To answer this question of you already in advance. But why should someone make a photo in the sky when we could not see anything unusual there? By the way, most of the surface near entry points to our tunnels are also hidden with such a device, and your kind will generally see only normal cave walls instead of the door. That's one reason why I've said that I doubt that you will be able to find such a secret door to our world. But it has happened a few times in the past. That is interesting.
That's incredibly interesting, especially when she talks about, like, if you get so far into it, like, you need to go away. Yeah. What if, like, you didn't realize that you were there?
Yeah.
Then what? Like, surely they'd know. But maybe to a certain extent, like, maybe it's only camouflaged a certain distance, and then, like, when you get, like, deep, because I mean, if they're underground, like, it's like inside of the earth, like, it's gonna be a long time.
Yeah.
Like, realistically, I don't know if any, like, cavers would even be able to go that far.
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder, like, how it's dealt with, you know what I mean? Like, that's...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's all very interesting concepts, and it's nice that, like, it is camouflage, so it's not, like, apparent, but then again, that kind of loops back to my initial question regarding that.
Yeah.
Interviewer, question 29. Back to your and our own history. You've mentioned the race of the Elohim who have created our human race. From where did they come and how did they look like? What had exactly happened when they arrived? Are they our God?
Lacerta, answer 29. The Elohim came from this universe, from the solar system you call Aldebaran in our maps. They were a very tall humanoid species with usually blonde hairs and a very white skin. They avoided the sunlight because it hurt their skin and their eyes. This is literally me. This was absolutely unbelievable for a sun-loving species like us. They seemed to be intelligent and peaceful at the beginning, and we started a more or less friendly communication with them. But later they showed their real intentions and plans. They wanted to evolve the apes to a new breed, and we were just a disturbing factor for them on their new zoo planet. At first, they caught around 10,000 or maybe 20,000 of the simian ancestors, and they left the planet for some 100 years. When they returned, they brought back your, now more human, ancestors. When they left Earth again from some thousands of years, and the primitive pre-humans lived together with us without major problems. They were just afraid of our aircraft and technology. The Elohim had taught their mind and enhanced their brain and their body structure, and they were now able to use tools and fire. The Elohim returned within 23,000 years 7 times and accelerated the evolution of speed of certain of your kind. You must understand that you are not the first human civilization on the planet. The first advanced humans who lived at the same time with less developed pre-humans, because the Elohim had experimented with different speeds and stages of evolution. With technology and speech existed around 700,000 years ago on this planet. Your scientists have not understood this, because they found only the bones of the pre-humans and some primitive cave drawings showing advanced humans and flying devices. This genetically advanced human breed lived together with us, but they avoided contact with my kind because the Elohim teachers had warned them with misleading purpose that we are evil beings and that we lie to them. Well, after some centuries, the aliens decided to extinct their first creation, and they accelerated the evolution of a second and better test series, and so on and so on. The truth is that your modern human civilization is not the first on the planet Earth, but already the 7th. The building of the first breeds are lost, but the 5th civilization was the one which built the large triangular constructions you call Egyptian pyramids. Today, around 75,000 years ago, your Egyptians just found the large ancient pyramids in the sand and tried not very successfully to build similar constructions. And the 6th civilization was the one which built the cities which ruins you can find today beneath the sea in the so-called Bimini area around 16,000 years ago. The last creation in the 7th breed of your series was done just 8,500 years ago, and this is the only creation you can remember, and to which your religious writings refer. You rely on archaeological and paleontological artifacts, which show you a wrong and short past. But how should you know anything about the 6 civilizations before? And if you find evidence of their existence, deny and misinterpret the facts, which is partly a programming of your mind and partly pure ignorance. I will tell you in the following only about your creations, because the 6 previous mankinds are lost, and therefore they should not concern you. That's kind of eerie.
That is, but that's okay. So this might be a little off topic, but there's one of my coworkers I talk to about this weird shit all the time, and when I was reading Cherry of the Gods, I was saying I feel like civilization cycles, and once they hit like a certain technology, something happens to where they're wiped out, be it like war amongst each other or what have you. For instance, like the pyramids, and there's a couple of like the pyramids, Stonehenge, stuff like that. Like it's almost impossible to have the accuracy that they had now, let alone thousands of years ago when they were built.
Yeah, definitely.
And the fact that Cleopatra is closer to our time than the building of the pyramids, I think it says a lot. Like, obviously, this is just like kind of my interpretation of it, but I feel like it happens in cycles.
Yeah, definitely. That just makes sense. And like the thought of like the human race being wiped out is like terrifying.
It is absolutely terrifying.
But if you think about it, like we all gonna die anyway.
Yeah,
there's a lot more between us and the Elohim, and also between certain groups of the Elohim themselves. Because many of them were the opinion that the again and again creation of a human species on this planet makes no real sense. The last battles in this war were fought around 5,000 years ago in orbit and surface. The aliens used powerful sonic weapons to destroy your underground city, or to destroy our underground cities. But on the other hand, we were able to destroy many of their surface installations and bases in space. The humans of your series were very frightened when they observed our battles, and they wrote it down in form of religious myths. Their mind was not able to understand what was really going on. The Elohim, who appeared as gods for the 6th and 7th breed, told them that this is a war between good and evil, and that they are the good and we are the evil race. This depends certainly on the point of view. It was our planet before they arrived and before they started their evolution project with your kind. In my opinion, it was our right to fight for our planet. It was exactly 4,943 years ago, according to your timescale, that the Elohim left the planet again for unknown reasons. This is a very important date for us because many of our historians called it a victory. Fact is, we don't know what had really happened. The Elohim were gone from one day to another. They vanished without a trace, together with their ships, and we found most of their surface installations destroyed by them. The humans were on their own, and our civilization developed. Many of us were in contact with certain, more southern tribes of your species. And in the coming centuries, we were able to convince them that we are not the evil the aliens wanted them to believe. During the time from 4,900 years ago to today, many other alien species arrived on the planet. Some of them used the old teachings and programmings on your mind and played again God for you. But the Elohim themselves never came back. They had left the planet for a duration of some 1,000 years also earlier. So we expect their return one day in the future to end their project or to maybe extinct also the seventh grade. But we don't really know what have happened to them. To answer this question for you in advance, your current civilization don't know anything about the real origin, about your real past, about your real world and universe, and you know very little about us and our past, and you know nothing about the things to come in near future. As long as you will not understand and believe my words, I tell you my truth, because we are not your enemy. As long as there is danger for your species. Your enemies are already here and you have not understood. Open your eyes or you will be in big trouble soon. If you haven't believed anything of the things I told you before, then you should really believe and remember this.
That's eerie.
It's really fucking eerie.
That's scary. Don't come back and kill me. I'm not ready. That's scary. And then, so they were talking about, the 6th and 7th kind of, living together, at least for a portion of time. Mm-hmm. To me, that kind of, maybe, with, the Greek and Roman mythology, maybe that's where, the gods and titans came from.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know, just a thought. I just like to make, little connections to kind of, help it make sense.
For sure.
Because it's so, right? It's confusing and it's a lot of information.
Yeah, definitely.
Interviewer, question 30. Why do you think I don't believe you?
Lacerta, answer 30. I have a certain feeling that you don't believe me, despite the fact that I'm sitting here in front of you. Everything I have told you in the last 2 hours is the absolute truth about our world.
See, that's interesting too, though.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be hard not to believe if, a fucking giant lizard was sitting across from me.
Yeah.
I mean, seeing is believing.
For sure, yeah.
And I feel like that would definitely solidify that for me anyway.
Yeah, no kidding.
But to each their own. Interviewer, question 31. How many alien species are active on Earth at the moment?
Lacerta, answer 31. As far as we know, 14 species. 11 from this universe, 2 from another bubble, and 1 very advanced from a very different plane. Don't ask me for names because nearly all are not pronounceable for you. 8 of them are not pronounceable even for us. Most of the species, especially the more advanced, are just studying you as animals, and they are not very dangerous for you and for us, and we work together with some of them. But 3 species are hostile, including the one which was in contact with some of your government and exchanged their technology for copper and other important things which had betrayed your kind. There was and is a Cold War between 2 of these hostile races during the last 73 years, and the 3rd species seems to be the winner in this useless struggle. We expect a more hot war between them and you in the near future, and I would say in the next 10 or 20 years.
That's now.
That's now. Yeah, that's now.
And all the disclosure, oh, God.
And we are worried about that development. In the last time, there were some rumors about a new 15th species, which had arrived on Earth just 3 or 4 years ago. But we don't know anything about their intentions, and we are not in contact with them till now. Maybe the rumors are wrong.
I will say, though, I feel like this kind of reiterates the fact that she is, their species does seem to kind of look out for us.
Yeah. Definitely.
At least to some degree. And it's reassuring.
Yeah, definitely. Even if it's, just for, a coexisting kind of...
Yeah, I think it's confusing because I've always thought of reptilians as, one of, the most evil. But Actually, I take that back. I think it was the Dracos.
Yes.
And I think people get the Dracos and the
And
reptilians confused because they're very similar in appearance.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Do you know anything about the story of Valiant Thor?
No, you were telling me about this like last week.
Okay, Valiant Thor is a gray that actually was said to be very well mixed in with like politics and the government. So that's kind of interesting that.
Oh, absolutely.
That would be said.
We should definitely do an episode on like just alien lore and stuff. That would be cool.
For sure. Yeah. Actually, Valiant Thor is a pretty interesting story.
I bet.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems like, especially like gray. Mm-hmm. That's spooky. Grays freak me out.
Yeah.
Out of all of like the descriptions of the aliens, I think the grays are the hardest for me to grasp because, like, you know, reptilians and Dracos look like something we've seen before. Mm-hmm. The Nordics look like something we've seen before. The gray, not so much, and they're very intimidating.
Yeah, definitely. I actually pictured like a very Slender Man type.
Yeah, with like a big ass head.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've heard like some accounts where people say like the grays are like really small.
Oh, really?
See, I've always pictured them to be like people size, maybe like a little taller than like the average person.
That's kind of what I pictured.
But like some of them are like, some people describe them as like under 3 feet.
Really?
Just like little.
Well, I'm sure like there's like with us, you know what I mean? Like there's some smaller people.
Oh yeah, I mean maybe like the height variations are maybe like a status thing too. If like people are in fact seeing like
gender.
Such a big range.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You just never know, yeah.
You never do. Interviewer, question 32. What do the hostile alien races want?
Lacerta, answer 32, sorry. Various raw materials, including copper for their technology, your water, or better, the hydrogen in your water, which is a source of energy in advanced fusion processes, and certain chemical elements in your air. Furthermore, 2 of the species are also interested in your body, in your human tissue and blood, because their own genetic structure is defect through bad evolution and radiation, as far as we know. And they need intact strings from your kind, from animals, to repair their own genetic again and again. But they are not really able to repair the defects completely because their DNA and your DNA is not fully compatible. My own species is absolutely incompatible with them, so they are not very interested in us. And they try to make more compatible crossbreeds between you and them by use of artificial fertilization and artificial wombs. We suppose that the coming war between the 3 races, or between you and one or all of them, will be fought for raw material, hydrogen, air, and DNA.
That's kind of scary that, like, it's gotten to a point where, like, war is fought over things that aren't quite as tangible.
Yeah.
Minus the raw material thing. Like, I mean, let's face it, we've had war over oil for, like, how long now? You know?
For as long as I can remember.
Exactly. So the fact that, like, people are going to war over fucking air.
I know. Yeah.
It's scary.
It is scary.
Interviewer, question 33. Is this the reason for the abductions? Oh.
Lacerta, answer 33. Partly, especially when the aliens took egg and sperm samples from you. Sometimes the abductors belong to another and more advanced race, and they just want to study your body and your mind, which is more interesting for some of them than your solid body, as you would study a primitive animal. As I have said, 3 alien species are hostile, and this means that they do not care for your fate or for your life, and people who were abducted by them came very rarely back alive.
Oh, God.
If someone is able to report about an abduction, it means, in my opinion, that he or she has not met one of the aggressive species, or that he or she is very, very lucky human to be alive. Advanced and friendly races are also sometimes took egg and sperm samples, but for other reasons.
The abduction thing freaks me out.
Me too.
And like those implants, that's just like, who does that? Oh, well, they say it's just other people do, or other species do it. So I just always wonder what those kinds of things are like actually for.
Yeah.
Are they making PKs? Interviewer, question 34. You said there are only 14 species active on Earth, but why describe people who saw alien beings, so many different and bizarre types of them?
Lacerta, answer 34. I think I have already answered this question. As I have said, most of the alien races have much more advanced mind abilities than you or even me. There is just one alien race completely without such abilities. They are able to appear in your mind and memory as whatever they want, and this induced image have nothing to do with their real appearance. You remember them as normal humans, or gray dwarfs.
That's so weird. I feel like there's so many synchronicities in this episode.
Or even extremely bizarre animals, because they want you to remember that, or sometimes they want you to completely forget anything about meeting with them. For example, you can, remember that you were just in a normal of your human hospitals and that some doctors were examining you, and you think not further about what may have happened. Maybe till you discover that there is no hospital in the street where you supposed it, but in fact you were examined by them in one of their laboratories. You cannot rely on your mind in this case. They appear in different shapes to you to confuse you and make so-called abduction witnesses who are able to remember the events, or who believe they are able to remember, ridiculous in the public. As far as we know, they are successful. Believe me, there are only 14 alien species on this planet, and only 8 of them abduct humans at the moment. Again, as far as we know. In addition, not every one of your abductees is one, and some of the aliens in their reports are really just imaginations or lies.
That imaging thing, do you think that's why so many people claim to, see owls?
I literally thought the same thing. Oh my God, literally. Because I was thinking of the evidence, oh God.
Because it said, something about, strange animals, and then it also said something that does not even remotely look like them.
Yeah.
At least, this reptile is humanoid. It might not look like a person, but it, has human features.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why people do see owls.
That's kind of, I 100% that crossed. I was about to say that.
That's actually. That's funny. So I was waiting until after to say something. And then the fucking dwarf. There's so many goddamn synchronicities tonight. It's freaking me out.
I know.
Interviewer, question 35. How can we protect us against this influence on our mind?
Tinfoil and cups of water.
Oh my God, I was thinking about that movie the other day.
Yeah. Lacerta, answer 35. I don't know. I doubt you can, because your mind is like an open book to read and write for nearly every species I know. This is partly guilty of the Elohim themselves, because they had constructed, or better, misconstructed, partially intentionally, your mind and your consciousness without real protection mechanisms. If you are aware that someone tries to manipulate your mind, you can only concentrate on that suspicion and try to analyze every one of your thoughts and memories. Very important, don't close your eyes. This would lead to a different form of brainwaves, which are much more easy to access, and don't sit or lay down to rest. If you stay awake during the first minutes, you can maybe try to filter the other thoughts and waves in your brain, and the inducer will give up after some minutes if he or she is not successful, because it will start to hurt his or her own brain. This is very difficult and certainly painful, and it can harm you. So don't try to resist it, but it would be the only possibility you have. However, you can try this only with more weaker species, not the strong.
That's scary. Mm-hmm. Also, when I was don't close your eyes, I was you'll never sleep again.
I was thinking that.
I was oh my Lord. Tonight. Interviewer, question 36. What do you mean with one species comes from a different plane?
Lacerta, answer 36. Before I can explain that correctly to you, you must be able to understand the universe, and this would mean a maybe useless teaching of your mind, including the remove of some barriers, of many weeks, and with teaching I mean not only teaching by words. I have said this with your word, plane or level, because you have, again, no better word in your vocabulary and dimension would be, in this case, absolutely wrong. It's rather wrong even for another word, bubble, because a dimension cannot exist without planes. If you would be a species living in another or over the plane, and if you would be, furthermore, able to enter planes without technology, so that your body is not made of that kind of matter, then you would be the mightiest being you can imagine. This very advanced race I've mentioned had developed outside of here, and they've evolved, in fact, over billions of years. They would be able to destroy all of you and us and everything with just a single thought. We were in contact with them only 3 times in our whole history. Because their interest in your planet is different from all other races. They're definitely no danger for you or us. That's intriguing.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
That's horrifying. This shit is scary. I think, like, something that freaks me out more than anything, and I think that's why I have such an interest in, like, aliens, is, like, space. The thought of space is terrifying. It literally goes on forever. Like, you can't even think of infinity.
Well, yeah, and, like, when you watch, like, movies of, like, astronauts, and, like, you see the one where, like, he's not in the ship, and he's, like, floating around.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, that's, like, it's just, like, a vacuum.
It's scary.
So fucked up.
It's hard to think of. It's hard for me to grasp the concept of, like, infinity. Oh, and, like, the fact that it doesn't end, like, ever. Like, it's constantly expanding. Like, what the fuck?
No.
So many things. So many things. Interviewer, question 37. What will happen when the war begins?
Lacerta, answer 37. This is difficult to answer. It depends on the enemy race and on their tactic. War is not always what that primitive thing you humans mean in the word. War can be fought on various levels. One possibility they have is the destruction of your social system by influence on political leaders. Another is the use of advanced weapons systems which can cause earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or other disasters, including weather disasters, which may seem natural to you. The special fields from copper fusion I've mentioned earlier are able to have an influence on your global weather. I think they will not attack the planet directly before the human civilization is weak. Even you have the possibilities to destroy their craft, but not many. Let me say that we are not absolutely sure if there will really be such a hot war already in the next years. I don't want to talk further about this.
Oh, ew. I feel like she's scared.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Like, we can't rely on others not to, like, attack us, essentially.
Basically, yeah. Yeah.
Interviewer, question 38. This is the end of the interview. Do you want to say a last sentence or message?
Lacerta, answer 38. Open your eyes and see. Don't believe only in your wrong history or your scientists or your politicians. Some of them know the truth about various things, but they don't inform the public to avoid confusion and panic. I think your species is not as bad as some of my kind think, and it would be a pity to observe your end.
Aww, I love her.
Yeah. That's everything I can say. Go through your world with open eyes, and you will see, or maybe not, your kind is ignorant. Yes, we absolutely are.
And, like, okay, so there's one thing that kind of freaks me out when people say open your eyes. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, what are you going to see when you open your eyes?
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
I did it a lot.
It's like ignorance is bliss.
Yes, exactly.
You know, I don't know if I'd want to live knowing, like, all this stuff.
Just, like, living in constant
like panic. How would you? Yeah, exactly. You would not live. You would be, like, just constant state of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're just really into that kind of thing. I don't even know. All right, last question. Interviewer, question 39. Do you think anyone will believe that this interview is the truth?
Lacerta, answer 39. No, but this is an interesting experiment for my social studies. We will meet again in some months, and you will tell me then what has happened after the publication of my message. Maybe there is hope for your kind.
That was a super interesting interview.
I agree. I feel like from beginning to end, my thoughts and my, like, how I observed she and her motives have completely changed.
Exactly. From the beginning, like, in the beginning, I was like, oh, this bitch. Like, she's got the audacity. And then as we moved further, I was like, oh, she's on our side. Like, she's genuinely concerned for our well-being.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like, humans think they're hot shit. They think they're owed everything. They think that, like, everything is theirs to take. So I feel like you would have to be aggressive to get your point across.
Oh, absolutely. That, absolutely. Hey, especially for somebody who, like, say it is a reporter. Because let's face it, reporters have a certain air about them. And you can't be coming in to that with a topic such as this.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Yeah. And, like, at this point, it's like, yo, we gotta work together if we're gonna.
Right, exactly. And, like, it would be an interesting society if, like, say this war is happening, if, like, by the end of it, like, say we do come out and, like, you know, better, what if, like, they are able to actually freely walk among us and, like, it's just normal?
That would be pretty awesome.
That would be so cool. Especially because it does seem like we all have, like, a common interest. I mean, essentially it's making sure that nobody fucking dies.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. It just would be interesting.
Definitely.
But that was Lacerta part 1.
Yeah.
So, next week we will do part 2. It won't be as long. There's not as many questions. This is about the amount of time as the... there's several people who've done the interview on YouTube, but it's in that really shitty computer voice. That's why we kind of decided to go this route so that you could actually have human voices, which obviously we have error. We're not a computer. Yeah. So just, I mean, if you're interested, I would definitely even take a read yourself to kind of get a little more insight and form your own opinions.
Yeah, definitely.
And always follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube especially. That's the place to listen. Let me tell you guys. I know we say it every episode, but I'm not kidding when, like, I have to delete up. I only have so much space and so many minutes worth of recordings in Spreaker, and when I delete from Spreaker, it deletes from Spotify. The only one that keeps everything is YouTube. So if you're looking to binge listen, start there.
Yeah.
Also, if you have any questions, comments, stories, concerns, looking for a good therapist, you can find us, send us an email at luridlorepodcast@gmail.com. You can DM us.
Yeah, for sure.
Facebook, Instagram.
Even if, like, let's say you know one of us.
Yeah, if you know one of us, like, personally, you can just send us a text or whatever. But, like, I absolutely. If you know us, connect with us. Even if you don't, you know how to just get a hold of us. Just talk to us.
Just to do it.
But we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.